Well, hey there, YouTube. It's been a little while. I have a couple updates for you. This is going to be Sublimity Episode 8. And I do have a pretty long clip from my trip to California, which was Easter of this year. It's a little bit ago now. But there was a second part that didn't save. It didn't... I can't find it. It's not in the phone. It's not on my iCloud. It's like never recorded. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the first part now. And then I'll try to remember everything else that I was talking about and give you the current updates. By the way, yes, my hair is purple and blue now. It's a big change for me. I've never dyed my hair before. So, my work would have never allowed this where I used to work. This I've had since I was 18, and I have my tongue piercing still. But I put a white ball. In this video, you'll see a green one. But anyways, check it out, and yeah, I will update you right after that. Well, hello, YouTubers. How y'all been? It's been a little while since I checked in with you, but I think it's about that time. Sublimity, episode 8? Is it episode 8? I think it is. If not, then I'm wrong, and I'm going to upload this video anyways. Because right now is the moment I want to record the next chapter in the Sublimity series. Whatever that number is. We reached the milestone at Dirty Bird. The event that I last did with Dance Safe. I met Emmanuel Safiros. I think I spoke about him in my last video. Yes, he invited me here to San Francisco for Easter. Easter was yesterday. I've been in San Francisco since last Tuesday, and now I'm on my way to Emmanuel's house to hang out for 3 days up there in Grass Valley. So he invited me here to go to the Shulgin's house. And if you know who Alexander Shulgin is, he was a revolutionary chemist who rediscovered MDMA and synthesized lots of new chemicals, was a pioneer into psychedelic art of chemistry. So he died in 2014. So I never got to meet Alexander. But he had a whole team of people that helped him and, trained under him and learned from him. And they're all still there at the house. The people that he trusted. His wife still lives there. We met his daughter, his grandchildren. We met all kinds of... The connections I made at this dinner pretty much just like slingshotted me 3 years into the future, because where I'm going in my mind, what I want to achieve, I can kind of tell how long it's going to take. And this Easter dinner sped that clock up by about 3 years. That's how amazing it was to meet all these people. Emmanuel, thank you, man, for going out on a limb and inviting me up here and, connecting with me, and loving what I'm doing. I love what you're doing. It's just been great. So, what can I say? I got to see Shulgin's lab. I got to experience the hillside where his property is. I got to walk around all of his house and, meet some of the most interesting activists, scientists, doctors, everyone who is a proponent of psychedelic research, which is something that I fucking love. I've always loved psychedelics. I've always thought they had therapeutic qualities. I've always been somebody who's wanted to help others with their own problems through psychedelic therapy. It never occurred to me that this actually might be a real profession one day, right? Because who would ever think that any psychedelic would become legal in some way? Well, Richard Doblin, who is the founder of MAPS, who's like basically the guy who's in charge of removing MDMA from the Schedule 1 list to treat patients with PTSD. He is the next like Shulgin in my perspective. Richard Doblin is doing something that no one has been able to do with anything on the Schedule 1 list ever, as far as like removing it and making it a pharmacological prescriptionable drug that can be used in psychedelic therapy to treat PTSD as well as other, traumatic experiences in your childhood or anything that like you feel like is just disabled part of your person for your whole life. Like MDMA therapy is like you can grasp the concept of what made you feel that way at the time, unlike anything that you could do without MDMA, like the way you think about it. So anyways, all these people are there. I'm meeting people that are literally working on like mapping out the freaking what the fuck, the neurons that are in your brain that map out like, okay, there's something called serotonin 2, which is like a group of membranes in your mind that has like a bunch of subgroups inside. And apparently like all of the subgroups, there's like 300 or something if I remember correctly, is like every psychedelic experience on any drug that we've ever made up to this point has a certain combinations of the chemical compound triggers certain parts of this serotonin 2 brain stem thing in your mind. Dude, I was talking to a guy who's literally mapping out which parts of the serotonin 2 brain particles like are responsible for what psychedelic effects as you literally experience it, like memory or visuals, like feeling like all these different effects that psychedelics have on you are triggered by each neuron inside of this serotonin 2 group in your head. So anyways, yeah, I was talking to people like that, okay? Which is fucking, I would have never assumed that me, fucking Kyle Adamson from Sanford, Florida, who loves Dance Safe, is going to be at Shulgin's house for Easter. Like, no, that was like a mystical like land where like it was fabled in some old story that like I would never achieve that, not anytime soon. And I was there. I was there yesterday, and I was meeting people, authors, people who work at Berkeley. There was a lot of professors there, and people like just wore like the craziest stuff too, and lots of things happened there. We discovered a tree house that was really cool, and we walked through the lab. We got to meet all of Shulgin's team that's still around, and something else happened. There's a guy there. Oh God, he's the one name I can never remember is this guy. I think it was Brian, but I'm probably wrong. He had an RV at the Shulgin's, and I was like, oh wow, man, cool. I just bought an RV. Like I showed him pictures and stuff, and I started asking him like, oh, well, where are you traveling? Like, what do you do with this? Like, is it just parked here? And literally, he said from the day they bought it and it got delivered, it has not moved from that spot. And they've been living on that mountainside underneath the Shulgin residence for over 30 years. Not in that one spot, but on the same hillside. This guy, who was like one of the caretakers of the estate, he's lived there on that same hillside for 35 years. And I asked him, like,
about Sasha and just about like living there. And I said, is this the most beautiful place that you've ever visited? Because he's gone a lot of places, and if he's still on the same hillside in 35 years, it must be like a really magical spot. And I felt that it was like when I was there. I took a lot of videos, which will be on my Snapchat story, which I will be posting as another separate YouTube video. It's just going to be the combined total of all my Snapchats on this trip. Like, I'm saving my stories, and then I'm going to like compile them and just post them all as one YouTube video. So you'll be able to see that if you're not following my Snap, because that's how important and beautiful and awesome this trip has been. But I want to I don't care if you don't follow me on Snap. I want you to see what I saw, and maybe you can feel what I felt just through seeing and hearing through your phone or whatever you're watching me on. So anyways, that happened. I as you all know, this is all part of the Sublimity message that my first video is all about. So my whole intention of making these videos and doing the flyaway tour and doing Snapchat and sharing my life with you is goes back to my first video about how I decided that I'm going to keep trying to free myself from the corporate culture that is forced on us like every day, like subconsciously, consciously, it's all in my first video. And so like I'm still on that journey. Like, that's still what I'm doing. I'm still freeing myself, like, live, like, and I'm recording and sharing with you as much as I can, like, once, big things happen in my life that are getting me closer to that goal. And this trip was huge. That's why I called it a milestone earlier. I mean, I could probably stay out here permanently and just work with the people that I met at this dinner yesterday. Like, I made that strong of connections with people that are here in the San Francisco Bay Area, and they loved it. They love me. They love the idea. They love the tour. I was telling them all about it. I was telling them about this channel, and like, I'm not an academia type of person. Like, as far as like knowing official terms and like remembering like structures of how you're supposed to say a certain thing, like, no, I don't do that, because I like to be more spontaneous, kind of more like I have a lot of charisma sometimes, right? So like that helps me a lot, and I feel more satisfied with my life when I'm able to just wing it and be myself, and it still work even around people who are way more highly educated than I am. So like I was talking to this girl, Jessica, who actually lives here in San Francisco. I met her at the DPA conference in Atlanta last year, and I told her that, because I was like stressed. I'm like worried about, oh my God, I'm gonna sound like a fucking idiot. These people are like the most transformative minds of the psychedelic culture today. Like, what the fuck am I gonna say to them? Like, how I'm gonna sound like of an idiot. So I, of course, a little insecure because I didn't know what to expect. I talked to Jessica about that. Jessica Saya Sweet, she is like unbelievable, coolest chick I've met in so long. Oh my God. Like, she reminds me of Kim Carroll. I don't know, like a lot of you probably don't know who that is either, but anyways, she's just loving, caring, she's kind-hearted, and she just like wants to make sure that, everything is okay. She works with Zendo, and like, she just has this very way of Zen about her, and it's just calming and peaceful, and she's got beautiful eyes, and I don't know, man, it's just like, she's an amazing woman. I have to just say that. That's just what it is for me. I have my view of who Jessica is. So she says to me, she said, listen, Kyle, a smile and a charm goes a long way in that crowd. And she was saying it to me as if like to, help me and say that, don't worry, you're gonna be fine. You have a great smile and you have a lot of charm. So she was like, you know, just be yourself and they will love you. Just do it. And that's what I did, and it worked. And so, yeah, it was cool. It was cool advice, you know, to hear that and then to like have it actually happen that way. And most of these people are like on the cutting edge of research, right? So they're like trying to change laws or like come out with studies that prove a certain thing that was in question, or like you know, synthesize new chemicals or you know, brain mapping and things like this. But no one is like on the other side of the psychedelic culture, which is like how I feel. That's where I'm coming from, which is like psychedelics has been a part of my life for a long portion of my life. So like I'm like a psychedelic kid who grew up with just like psychedelics, right? So I'm like living proof that it can really color a person and like really help them spread their wings and like be creative and like, you know, keep those portions of your brain stimulated so you don't become a fucking zombie and you don't like just like become complacent and you know just work a job. Like, you know, in my first video I talk about it, you know, framing out life by a standard that is just put before you, and you're supposed to like go with that, you know, and just accept it. And you know, it works for a lot of people, but for some people, like especially for me, I knew there had to be more to life than just that. And so I give a lot of credit to that kind of thought process to psychedelics, of course, because they helped me to see things differently and think about things differently and just like live life differently. You know, like since I had them in my life so early too, I think that had a big part to play, because I think when you're younger, obviously I'm not soliciting that kids do drugs, okay, like just not doing that, but in my situation, I believe that I took acid at the best time to take it as a younger kid, because you have zero responsibility. You don't have all this shit to think about, bills and work and your house and fucking, you know, how am I going to pay for my car, my phone bill, and all this bullshit. Like, you know, all that programming that gets put into you as you get older wasn't there. So like literally when you take acid in that kind of frame, it's just completely free because you don't have those walls built up already. So yeah, I could say that like I said earlier, I give credit to psychedelics at a young age that has helped me like see the world differently. And I mean, I think most of you can understand what I'm trying to say with that. So, you know, some people might think I'm a little weird or, you know, too outrageous, or maybe like, I don't know, maybe a little crazy, who knows, but we're all a little crazy, right? So it's okay. But no, what I'm trying to say is like, I think I'm doing all right with the positives and negatives of taking psychedelics at a young age. Like, I think I was able to find a balance where most people maybe not could not have, you know. So I'm like, I feel if and when one day comes where this frame of life that I've discovered presents, you know, me with an idea or an invention or something that can alter human history or create a better life for mankind, like obviously I would give the credit to acid or psychedelics at a young age. Like, I feel like just because of those experiences, like I have something to offer others that not a lot of people have to offer, you know. And so whatever that is, I don't know what it is yet. Maybe it's these videos. Maybe Sublimity is going to be like the life-changing thing for someone. Who knows? You know, the whole reason I'm documenting this life that I'm leading is just to prove that as long as you believe in something and you overcome your fear of failure, which is a big one, overcoming fear, like actually stepping off the ledge and like just going for it, that's a very, very difficult thing to do. And you can think that you've done it, and you haven't really done it, you know? Like you got one foot in and one foot out, you know? So the whole point of these videos is kind of to be like a first-person perspective on how somebody was able to break out of the cycle that is encapsulating our society right now. And so, obviously, you don't have to do what I'm doing, but the idea was just to show you that it can be done. You know, like, I like to say it took me 32 years to figure out what I wanted to do in life, right? So, like, what I mean by that is I was an auto mechanic, right? I was a plumber, I was a carpenter, I worked in construction, I worked in telemarketing, I got people skills, I learned how to fix things, I got into air conditioning, I love to travel, I love to meet new people. Like, these are all characteristics of who I am as a person. So how do I take who I am and make it into my full-time gig, like my passions and dreams and loves in life? How do I turn that into a vehicle to sustain the rest of my life with it, right? That's like the hardest thing to figure out, which I talk about too in my earlier videos. So for me, doing glow parties in an RV, traveling around the country, keeping my expenses low, and just like perpetually touring is like my dream come true. Like that would be what I would want to do. Because of all the things that it encapsulates. So it has the EDM aspect, which, of course, I fucking love electronic music. It has a lot of traveling, which is something I love. There's still plenty of things that can go wrong because you're on the road, RVs break down, your truck breaks down. There's all, so I can still like fix things that I love to fix and troubleshoot things. Like, even though it can be a pain in the ass and happen at like the worst time ever, there's still some part of me that gets a lot of satisfaction from being able to fix something. So, you know, there's that big aspect to it. And then meeting new people. I'm going to meet so many people on this tour that I've never met. And I love that. I love meeting, oh my God, I think that's my favorite thing to do in life is meet new people. Just like constantly like make connections and figure out what other people are doing with their lives. And just like, you know, I'm so interested in life, like people who actually live their life, you know. I just when I hear people talk about things they love to do and they're doing them, it really like inspires me to keep going and just like, yes, like this is what we're supposed to do, you know. So anyways, I am currently gonna be getting some fuel here soon. My Jeep, I'm in a rental right here. This Jeep is it's from an app called Get Around, and Get Around in California is literally a oh shit, yeah, I gotta get gas soon. I might run out of gas. Fuck, I've been talking too long. Get Around is an app where you can literally rent a car from any location. There's like hundreds of cars in San Francisco for Get Around, and you just rent a car for an hour. You can rent a car an hour at a time or 2 hours at a time, or you can rent it for like the whole week, you know, like depending on the car's schedule, if there's anybody else who already booked it or whatever. So like I got this rental for 10 days for about $430, okay? And that seems like a lot. This is a Jeep Grand Cherokee with 4-wheel drive with a Hemi motor in it, and it's a beautiful ride. It's beautiful. So I looked online just to compare it to, like, let's say Enterprise, and for more money, for about $500, that's where the entry-level economy car would have been for the 10 days that I was here. So I would recommend doing Get Around just to save yourself a little bit of money, but also to get a nicer vehicle. So it's been great so far. Funny story about it, this specific Jeep, one of the taillights was out, and I'm like, oh fuck, I'm in California. This is a pot legal state. Like, I'm going to be driving around like a Floridian in California with a taillight out. I was like, no, I am not going to get pulled over for a taillight when I'm going to probably be, imbibing in the California dream, if you will. So, okay. So what I did is I actually went to the store. I found the bulb that I needed, and I bought a screwdriver, and I just fixed it. And I told the guy, I sent him a picture. I said, hey man, I just fixed your taillight, no big deal. I just, wanted to let you know that it was out and I did fix it. So blah, blah, blah. He sent me $20, just like straight up, just like, here man, just, thank you for fixing that. And, let me repay you, which was cool, which was really cool. So that's another cool thing about this style of renting, kind of like an Airbnb, but for cars. Because you have a person-to-person interaction. Like, the person I talked to about the light was the owner of this car. So, like, he cares about it, So it's a lot better than just renting from a corporation and, like, just not giving a shit, Like, they don't give a shit, and you don't give a shit because they're a fucking huge enterprise, right? Like, they fucking have thousands and thousands of cars. So, I like this better. I like the person-to-person interaction, like the regular marketplace. I think it's the better option rather than the corporate overlord. So yeah, Get Around, that's the name of this app that I was able to rent this beautiful Jeep in. So I'm taking this Jeep up to Grass Valley to stay with Emmanuel for the next 2 nights, 3 days. And we got some adventures planned. I bought some fabric with him. His wife, she's like a very awesome woman, but she's an artist, and she makes things out, clothing items. She paints and does some abstract stuff. She's really creative and just like has like a view of like the world through like a very hippie-ish vibe, and she's very laid back. But anyways, we're gonna be making me a vest for festivals. Like, Emmanuel has a vest and I fucking love it. And that's how I found out that his wife makes vests. I asked him where he got it. So we went fabric shopping this morning. We're gonna be planning on going on some hikes down some of his favorite paths. And he's gonna, I might be here. He's gonna be working on the movie a little bit. I wanted to, see what that is like, and just kind of like, I don't know, get to know him better. Like, I really feel like we're becoming really close friends, and it's cool. He's like a really cool guy. Like, I was just talking to my buddy Adam on the phone before I started this video, and I was saying, like, for a person of his achievement to look at me and decide that he's completely interested in what I'm doing, like, that's incredible for me. Like, that is so powerful, because this is a guy who, like, started DanceSafe. This is a guy who, like, revolutionized, like, risk reduction, and he also is making a movie called MDMA, right? Like, I mean, this guy is so dynamic. He's a dynamo. Anything he does, he can do. Like, he's gonna do it. And he's so easy, he's so down to earth, easy to talk to. And he fucking is so interested in what I'm doing. So, like, I get to hang out with him, and he gets to talk to me. We had a great experience last night. We were hanging out at his buddy's after party after the Easter party, and it was fucking incredible what happened there. Like, we experienced a moment of, like, complete trust, and it's a very rare thing to share that with someone, like, true trust that like is unconditional trust. So, like, if I was to tell him, he would believe me and not question it, or like vice versa. Like, if he was like, Kyle, today
stay straight,
black, right? Like, obviously this is like way extreme, but I would just believe him. Like, I just feel that I can trust him, and I feel like he trusts me. Like, we experienced a moment of complete, which was something I haven't felt with anyone since Blake, you know, since Blake died. So it was a big moment for me, and I think he felt very similar because I explained it to him, and he was like, "Yeah, man," he's like, "That is rare, you know, like very rare." So, okay, all right, I'm gonna get gas. I'll be back.